Welcome one more time to Music Without Quarantine. This is our fourth interview. And on this occasion, we have the pianist and bandoneonist from Peru, although he lives in Madrid, Claudio Constantini. Claudio, hello.
Hi, hello. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you too. I'd like to start by explaining to people how I got to know you, or how I got to know about you. And the reason was music, basically. I had to do the review, to write the review of your CD, America, for the magazine Scarto in Spain, and that's how I got um, completely amazed by the way you play the piano. This is an album where you play just piano, just win the Rhapsody in Blue, but just the piano version. And so this is how I got to know about you, and then we got in touch. I think it was via Facebook, and then we met in a couple of events since then, and that's it. So, what was your experience with this album, America?
Well, the experience was amazing. Actually, it was the first time that I did a classical kind of CD, but with one of my own works, which is included in the disc, and my own transcription. So and with two really close composers to my heart, Gershwin and Piazzolla. And the CD was really well received by critics, including yourself, which you made an amazing review, which I was very happy for. And eventually last year it got nominated for a Latin Grammy, so that was really a nice thing. And so I was really happy with the result of this CD.
So you have now a new project along with your wife, right?
That's
a new
right.
album. In this case, you play just the bandoneon.
Yes, that's right.
Could you tell us a bit about it?
Yes, of course. I have it right here. It's called 20th Century Tango, and it's the first project I do for this label, IBS Classical, with the bandoneon, because I've been recording with them my piano CDs, but this is the first time I do a bandoneon CD for a classical label, and I couldn't be happier with the results. The sounds that the bandoneon has in this record is really fantastic. And so this is the first recording project that I have with my wife. She's an amazing pianist, and we bring together a series of tango music, but in it's kind of divided into two type of composers, two type of music. In one hand, you have the traditional composers from tango music, like Horacio Salgán or Mariano Mores or Astor Piazzolla, and on the other hand, you have classical composers who wrote tango music, or music that is inspired by tango rhythms. For example, Stravinsky or Schnittke or Setti. So it's very interesting to see how the visions of all these people, of all these composers, the visions they had of tango they all are quite different. So it's very versatile, a very versatile CD, and lots of music, about 70 minutes of music, and it was really an amazing project to do. And has been released just 1 week ago, and it already has about 20,000 plays on Spotify. So that's quite a big number. We're really happy with that. It's having a good start.
Right, great. How, out of curiosity, how is it easy to combine this personal life and professional life, two musicians and also a little baby because you have a little girl?
Well,
how do you manage to combine everything?
It's tough, basically because of the time, because of the time with the baby. Actually, is the toughest part, because we have to take care of her. Usually it's me practicing and she takes care of the baby, or she practicing and I take care of the baby. But if we have to practice together, we have to rehearse together, and that's a tricky thing, because we don't have much family here. She has her parents, but they work, so we don't have much help with the baby. So that's actually the hardest part. On the other hand, we work together really easily, really quickly, and it's just so nice to work in that way. She's the perfect chamber companion for me.
Yeah. So I have to say, you played on two concerts on Music Without Quarantine on Facebook. One of them was playing the piano, and another one playing the bandoneon. And I just wanted to thank you because I think it was great for people to get to know an instrument, in this case the bandoneon, an instrument that is not usually played. And most people associate bandoneon with, well, in Argentina it's true that Astor Piazzolla is like a symbol of the bandoneon, but most people associate bandoneon with something that is not classical or something that is an instrument you play for party.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it was good that you showed the world that that's not the case. You can do a lot of things with the bandoneon.
Yes, actually, that's one of the things that I'm most committed to with the bandoneon, to widen its horizon. Actually, it's a very versatile instrument, and it developed a lot in tango music in Argentina, but it originally is from Germany, and it was used to play church music. So it has a completely different setting than what it's normally you are used to hear. So that's really interesting, actually, how the bandoneon got to Argentina. And actually, if it wouldn't have got to Argentina, it would probably have lost its way. It probably wouldn't be an instrument that is so much played, because there's where it got so strong that it actually developed as an instrument, and the bandoneon technique and school developed there more than in anywhere else, more than in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about your background, personal background, and also educational background. You've been born in Peru and you've been living there for many years, and then you moved to Europe. So can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, sure. I started studying music seriously when I was about 13 years old, the piano, and it was a big love that I fell in love with piano music, and so I was playing hours and hours a day for years, and I also found a tango CD of Astor Piazzolla, and I fell in love with the bandoneon, with the sound of the bandoneon, but there weren't any bandoneons in Peru. So later on, I moved to Finland to study when I was 18 years old. I lived there 4 years, and eventually I bought a bandoneon when I was there. So I bought it actually by blindsided, because they had to bring it to me from Argentina by mail. So I didn't know what to expect, but fortunately it was a really good bandoneon, and I learned by myself how to play it. And I fell in love even more with it. So I spent hours and hours and hours trying to master it, and eventually I started playing concerts. So now I combine my concert activity between the piano and the bandoneon and composing. So I lived in Finland for 4 years. Afterwards, I did a master's degree in Rotterdam, in Holland, and after that, I lived there for 8 years, and I wanted to live in a place where I really felt identified with the place, and that I was really loved the place. So I moved to Madrid. It was the same for me if I lived in Holland or anywhere, because my activity is mostly traveling and playing. So I decided to move to Madrid, and I couldn't be happier here. I've been living already for 6 years.
So bad. What's your I would just how can I ask you this question? What drives you? What's your drive? What really drives you as a musician and as a person as well?
It is a never-ending curiosity, and an intense love for the music. I think of music all day long. If I'm not thinking of music, there's music going on in my head, and then suddenly I realize, and there's music in my head. It's a really strange thing, but it's like the play button is there all the time, and I live it all the time. So I want to express it. I want to take it out of me. I want to share it. So my motivation comes from curiosity, from big love of music, and from my wish of connecting with other people through music.
Does it have to do with you playing bandoneon and piano at the same time? Because I've watched one of your videos playing Bach on the bandoneon and the piano at the same time.
Yes.
Is it difficult? Because you have to separate it. Two
Yes.
brains.
It's very difficult because they're completely different techniques, how to play the bandoneon, how to play the piano. So the bandoneon has buttons, and the piano is of course a piano keyboard, and they have nothing to do with each other, and you produce the sound with air with the bandoneon. So it's very tricky. It's very tricky, but it's very fun to try. It's a fun challenge. I don't think I could do, or I don't think I would do a complete concert like this, because it's also a limited thing to do. You cannot play with the full possibilities of either instrument when you do that. So it's a nice thing to just do one small piece every now and then.
And if you had to choose an instrument, let's say there's one option, which one would you leave with, piano or bandoneon?
Well, that's a tricky question, because they both complement me in such different ways. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's also sometimes I think about this and I think, oh, I would stay with the bandoneon because it sings more and it's like part of my body. You know, when it's not like the piano. The piano is a big piece of furniture that is there, and you have to every time like make friends with it again. But the bandoneon, you embrace it and it's part of you immediately. But on the other hand, sometimes the piano is just such a complete instrument, and its sensitivity is so deep and so profound and so intense, and I've been in love with it for so long that sometimes I prefer it, but I really couldn't choose. Fortunately, that's not going to happen. So if I can play one instrument, I can play the other as well.
Good. What would be your message for people? In this case, I'd like to ask you for a message for young people who usually don't listen to classical music, and what's your message for them?
For young people, it's a tricky thing. For young people, it depends how young you're saying, but if by young you say teenagers or a bit
let me ask you the question in a different way.
Yeah.
Let's imagine a young person who lives in Peru, let's say between 10 and 15 years old, who wants to do something in life. What would be your message for this kind of people?
Wants to do something in life. Wow. Well, I would say 10 years old is quite young to know what you want to do in life. But in my case, when I was 12 or 13, I knew for sure what I wanted to do in life. So I would encourage them to search for things that really motivate them, that they really like. If it's drawing, if it's in nature, if it's playing music, if it's dancing, whatever it is, I would encourage them to seek for that, to ask for their parents if they can put them in lessons or whatever, and to have lots of patience also, of course. But usually if you really fall in love with something, or at least that's the case that I had, and that I see that many people who are really driven with their careers have, is that they will be needed to be taken away from what they're doing because they want to do it so much. And this is the feeling that I would encourage everybody to look for for their choice in life, and for their choice of the things they do, because they will do it so much better when they really like, and they will probably live a very happier life than if you settle for something that you think you should do. So perhaps that it's a very hard question. It's not simple to answer, but I think basically.
But you did. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Claudio, for your playing, for your music, for your kindness, and hopefully we see each other soon when everything, the confinement and the quarantine is over. Maybe we can have a drink together or something.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.